Yes, people, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is, of course, OTF, otherwise known as Orest Talks Football. Of course, Orest isn't here right now, so it is yours truly hosting. But I'm not about to change the name of the channel. It is still OTF, and OTF should be OTW on the way. But until then, of course, you're in my company. We do have a couple of guests backstage. We are hoping to get a few more people to come and join us. But until then, of course, we'll just have to make a little bit of small talk until then. And Orest, of course, will be joining much later, as will hopefully maybe one or two other co-hosts. We will see. But the first guest to bring to the main stage from the backstage is Mr. Sinclair himself. Ollie, good to see you. How have you been, son?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
And had a good weekend, of course, with Arsenal winning. And what else have you been up to?
Not much. Money.
I appreciate the comment, Hanno, but listen, that's not really the name of the channel, and I don't know if I can make that my channel name anytime soon. But I appreciate the compliment, and of course, we've got one more person backstage, and we've got a couple more people joining the comments. Mr. B, good to see you. How have you been?
Yeah, cool, mate. Cool. Yeah, enjoying it. Didn't have a great weekend with the football, of course, with us losing, but other than that, yeah, things are pretty good. Getting lots of stuff on the channel. Might have Lee Gunner on the next preview. That'd be great if I can get him. The legend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the thing about Lee Gunner, I should let you know right now, he is what you'd call an acquired taste. And I will say there are some people who can be a little bit, I wouldn't say intimidated, but you could say outraged at some of what he has to say. But he's a character, he speaks his mind, and obviously, he has his opinions. Some of us agree with it. We agree with some of what he says. We disagree with some of what he says. But life goes on. And of course, I think Mr. Davies says it perfectly, like humble pie. Calming down after that Egyptian storm. Obviously, we are going to talk a little bit about that, but mercifully for you, Mr. B, that's not the first game we're talking about. And it's just as well that we don't have any Tottenham fans, of course, because obviously the title says it all. We are talking about the week that was, game week 12. And our first item on the agenda, which is, of course, the first game that was played, is this game where we saw a once high-flying Tottenham Hotspur, fresh from having their unbeaten record stolen by Mauricio Pochettino on his return to his old stomping ground. They ended up getting thrown to the Wolves in stoppage time. Two breathlessly late goals to help them win. And I suppose in some ways it's a case of what goes around comes around, especially given how Spurs beat Sheffield United in very similar circumstances. And of course, all the big talk was, that particular Chelsea game saw James Maddison and Mickey van der Ven picking up injuries. And of course, they were also without Destiny Udogie and Christian Romero because of some dreadful, challenges which got them suspended. I don't even remember if Bissouma was playing, or maybe he was, but he also got a booking. He was playing, but he did get a booking, which also means that he will be suspended for Spurs' next game. And it just goes to show that you can never really take a good start and say that that's the way it's going to be. You are going to be a marked team. And every time you get defeated, you will be pilloried, and it's how you recover that will really determine how good of a team you are. And Spurs do still have some good players. I think their goalkeeper Vicario has been one of the goalkeepers of the season, it has to be said. And as soon as we get your thoughts, gentlemen, I will take a look at some of the comments. But Mr. Sinclair, as the Arsenal fan, I'm sure you might be in a mood to gloat about this, but please don't gloat. I like to keep things respectful. If you saw the game, if you saw the game, what was your impression of that performance?
Yeah, I did see a bit of the game. I think I missed the last ending. Wolves came back. Wolves waited.
Real late to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, great comeback from Wolves. Coming back from 1-0 down, getting the two late goals. But yeah, good win for Wolves.
Yeah, an interesting comment here from Mr. Davies saying Spurs sat back maybe due to the injuries and the suspensions. And of course, the issues that Spurs have will be very well dealt with. But Mr. B, I want to ask you something. You've been saying in the group chat that, Bournemouth are now starting to realise what a big mistake they made to sack Gary O'Neill because he was the type of pragmatic manager could get a team to perform beyond themselves. And they certainly proved that with their fine wins over Manchester City and now Tottenham, and they also held Aston Villa and Newcastle to draws. I can only hope that when we go over to Molineux as Arsenal, we will, make sure that we're wise to all of that and give them a good and give the Howls the Wolves a good hiding. But how impressed have you been with Wolves since Gary O'Neill took over?
Oh, very impressed, Manny. Very impressed. Well, as I say, I rate Gary O'Neill. I really do. I think he's a superb young manager, and I remember him playing for Brentford even, towards the end of his career. So I knew obviously he'd be a good manager as well when eventually. So,
the perfect barometer for being a good manager. He had to be a B.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, but you could definitely say in this one, the Wolves feasted at the end there, didn't they? So. Because I mean, the problem with Spuds, they're trying to hold on to a 1-0. And you can't do that, really. That's criminal, really. So, Wolves, I thought Wolves were the better team, to be honest, as well. I thought they wanted it more as well as Spurs. So,
and you could say as well that it was a case of extremes for Spurs because obviously, despite going down to 9 men, they still wanted to play the high line that actually could have scored if Eric Dyer had not been offside. But obviously. When Chelsea broke that trap, they just went and scored without any invitation required. So you could see that the injuries and suspensions meant that they had to sort of sit back and defend. But as we all know, in the Premiership, you can't do that, especially against a Wolves team that are proving to be quite a handful on their home patch under Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely going to stay up, Wolves. I don't know. Maybe I don't think they get top 10 somehow, but maybe mid-table, something like that. I don't know.
That could be a good finish for them. Ollie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 13th maybe.
I could see them definitely in that 12th, 13th, 14th belt, which certainly would be an improvement on last season when they had the managerial issues and then Lopetegui came in and steadied the ship, but then he also abandoned it before the start of the season. But well done, Gary. And obviously this result is going to make you smile, of course, Ollie. The Clarets being burnt by the Gunners to the tune of 3-1. But Mr. B, we'll start with you on this one for a change. I remember seeing the whole game, and obviously, I knew that Burnley would be very difficult to break down at first. But once we, got the opening goal, it was only a matter of time before we started to score a little bit more. It was a strange game in many ways because, we had to bide our time, but we also, in many ways, could have done a little bit more. And you just got the impression that with Burnley, once they conceded that goal, I think defensively they just lost a little bit of concentration and shape. What was your impression on the game?
Well, I thought obviously Arsenal did struggle a bit to start with in the first half. It's I don't know why, but you should start it off like a house on fire and come out the traps basically. But but still, you got the result at the end of the day. That's all that matters. And Trossard was great. He played in from the start, which makes which is great. It makes a change that Arteta's actually starting him. And he almost got a bad injury, didn't he? And I thought he was going to go off, Trossard, when he went into the post, didn't he, when he scored? So.
Oh yeah.
But and then obviously, you finished them off in the second half. You're much better than in the second half, I think. You know, and of course Havertz actually took him off for a change, which was great. He's found him out, maybe. Let's hope. But come on, Arteta. You should know by now he's not a great player. You shouldn't have bought him. But there you go.
Yeah, agreed. And if this match also should prove that Edward Nketiah should never ever start as a centre forward for Arsenal again, as long as Trossard is in that good form. And I'd even have Jesus back and Trossard as main competition. But Eddie,
you need a fit Jesus.
Your taxi's on the phone. It's your taxi on the phone. Time to leave, mate. Ollie, what did you think of the game? And do you agree that Trossard should be starting as the false 9/centre forward from here on in? I wouldn't even mind seeing Trossard on the left and Martinelli in the centre, mind you.
Yeah, I don't mind Trossard starting up front. I think he's done well. Obviously, good game, good for Zinchenko to get a goal. First goal.
What a goal that was.
Yeah, good goal. Yeah. Good for Saliba to get a goal as well. Obviously, we conceded, which was a bit annoying, and we got the red card. But no, good win overall. Obviously, I'm a bit annoyed not to keep a clean sheet, but we got the win.
Yeah.
What do you think about Vieira, by the way? What did you make about that? I think he should go.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a stupid thing to do, really, because in that particular environment, you can't just raise your leg like that and show your studs, especially with a player coming in like that. You're asking for trouble. It's about playing it really well. And an example, of course, and I'm sorry, Ollie, but I have to mention this. It was when Sia Khaleesi, went in head first with that huge barge, but turned his head away, so that it wasn't a full head-on collision. I think that's how you sort of play it. You got to be smart in that respect, and Vieira just wasn't. And there are going to be some issues in the midfield as well, because for all of the talk about how Odegaard isn't really the strong midfielder that we need, at least most of our better plays have come through him. But we're stuck with Jorginho and Havertz, and Declan Rice is the one who's running the show, and Jorginho's playing his part as a supporting cast member. He's still captaining the team for what it's worth, and at least he's sort of improved by not making too many silly mistakes. And I will say that pass to Saka for the Trossard goal against Sevilla was just bellissimo, as we would say, or I know that Jorginho's Brazilian, so in Portuguese, I suppose you'd say muito lindo. No, he was born in Brazil, so he speaks Portuguese, but he's a naturalized Italian. And but we are still having some problems in midfield, and of course with Ben White injured, we were down to our bare bones. We had to play Zinchenko at left back and switch Tommy to the right, and Tommy didn't look really comfortable, although Zinchenko did have a better game. But maybe the likes of Burnley and Sheffield United would be Zinchenko's level, as it would be Nketiah's level. But Ollie, one question to you now. You're seeing basically that our squad is being stretched very thin. Do you still believe that we can actually achieve something with a squad this thin? And our bench doesn't fill me with confidence, I have to say.
No, I don't think our bench isn't the best. And the squad we've got as well, but I think we can manage. I think we can try.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where Mr. B's gone. I think he's, gone somewhere and got muted, I think. But I will come back to him on that, obviously. And we got a comment here from Hanno saying the inverted Ukrainian scored a banger. Was he the better player after Trossard? Look, he had a good game, but Burnley really is only his level. We've seen him, get skinned by some good right wingers, and Burnley were never going to offer too much on the wings. I thought Koleosho was actually quite good on the left, and he skinned Tomiyasu on more than a few occasions. Pathetic to hear some Arsenal fans claiming that Tomiyasu was fouled in the build-up to their equalising goal. Utterly ridiculous. And Simon says here...
What were you asking for, Manny? What were you trying to ask?
Yeah, I'll come to that. I was actually saying, Zinchenko again looked great going forwards, but rubbish going back. But we had to start him at left back because Ben White was injured. That meant Tomiyasu had to go in at right back. And now we're in a situation, Mr. B, where our bench is extremely weak. So unless we do anything in January, I mean, well, again, this season will be another sad story. What would you say to that?
Well, will there be a certain Mr. Tony coming into Arsenal? That's what I want to know. Will you want to buy
I don't
him?
think so, mate. You're
Maybe
asking too much money, and Arteta won't want to do that. He's starting to realise the mistake he made, dropping 70 million bob for Havertz. I don't think he'll want to pay that much for Tony. And Tony is going to be another Aubameyang, a really strong character. Arteta doesn't like dealing with him. But, turned inside out, still played well. And, of course, when our bench was trusted last season, we bottled the league. Always a good point.
Yeah.
To our credit, we have since sold some of those players on the bench, but it still, doesn't really look too much better. It's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. But look, we got to win. We're still in the top four, only just, it has to be said, and we move on. And now another surprising result in many ways, because many of us predicted that Everton would lose. But here we see the Eagles choking on the Toffees.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you got to chew whenever you've got the best English toffee. I mean, we remember those quality street toffees, especially the golden pennies, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I used to love eating them, but you had to literally fuck and chew on them before you could get it down.
All
Ridiculous.
The better ones went, didn't they? The purple one that always went, the one with the nut in it and that. I love that.
Yeah, the hazelnut caramel, that was beautiful. But yeah, so Ollie, I'm going to come to you on this one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have predicted that Crystal Palace would win, and yet Everton ended up doing well. What do you think's going wrong with Crystal Palace, or what do you think is going right with Everton?
I think I predicted an Eagles win or a Crystal Palace win. I think Everton. Yeah. Yeah. I think Everton, maybe the players improving, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
but,
if you saw the game, tell me what you thought of it and what really caught your eye.
I didn't see the game, no.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Mr. B, I'm sure you must have seen quite a bit of the game, and maybe I can ask you this question: what seems to be going right with Everton, and what seems to be going wrong with Palace at the moment? Going wrong may be a bit too harsh because they're still comfortably safe for now, but Everton have surprised a lot of us, haven't they?
Exactly. Yeah. I thought Everton could be dead and buried again this year. Probably possibly be going down. But Dyche has really turned it around there, hasn't he? And I think they could be comfortable now. They probably will stay up this season again, Everton.
Yeah.
I can't see them being in trouble again this time. But I mean, Palace, I don't know, a strange one. They are. I mean, I thought they was going to be, going well and do well, and I thought for all the world they'd beat Everton. But it's just proves, you just don't know in this football, in this mad Premiership. Any team could win on their day. And I think Everton seem a decent team. They seem pretty good.
Well, Simon shares your view, saying it was a great contest, but Everton wanted it more. But we got an interesting comment here from Mr. Trollope saying that Palace just have too many injuries at the moment, and maybe they are still dependent a little bit on the likes of Elise, Schlupp and company.
Yeah.
And Everton currently on a purple patch. But I do believe that the return of Dominic Calvert-Lewin means that they do have a good striker up front, a good option for goals. And, of course, it just means that, when you have your striker who's scoring goals, a lot more people will be able to follow suit. And it's just it's coming up toffees for Everton, if not roses as of yet.
Yeah.
But just goes to show, be very careful with toffees. You have to chew them and suck on them, and then you can swallow them. Do not choke. And I'm sure, Mr. B, you will remember the old cartoon Captain Planet and the villainous character Loot and Plunder. Well,
just about, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the Red Devils loot and plunder the Hatters, but only just 1-0. And so this was obviously a game which, United had to win by hook or crook. And Luton have also showed that their performance against Liverpool was certainly no fluke by any means. We have been talking, though, of late of whether or not Luton have the chops to stay up, and I think some of us were agreeing that maybe they do. Mr. B, what do you think about the game, and what were the things that you liked about Luton's performance in that game? If you got to see some of the highlights.
Yeah, I thought I think they're a great team. They fight all the way 90 minutes plus. They don't give up, and they got a great defence. They're resilient in defence, and I like them. I think they're going to be the team that stay up out of those three. I think they're the better team that come up. So, Man United are really still struggling. They seem to, only just about, nick this 1-0. So I don't know what's going on with them, but Samuel Ten Hag's going to get a stay of execution, I suppose, for a while longer. But it's a poison chalice, that job, let's be honest. Ever since Fergie left, retired from there, it's who's really done anything. Maybe Mourinho achieved something, 1 or 2 cups, didn't he? Was it what did he win? I can't remember now. I know he won one thing anyway, didn't he, Mourinho? But
yeah,
it's a hard job that when you go to Man United, but I think Luton were great again. They've not been smashed at all, as far as I can see at the moment. Nobody's really smashed them. So, more power to them.
Yeah, but Simon, if you want to ask your question, by all means, ask it in the chat, and I will make sure that you get your question asked. And obviously, Hanno's saying that the United attack wasn't really the best. Luton didn't have many shots on goal, though, but they did what they probably set out to do, which was possibly frustrate United as much as they possibly could and see if they couldn't pull off another Liverpool. And they almost did, but, sadly for them, events dictated otherwise. Ollie, what was your impression of the game, and what do you think of Luton and their chances of staying up? And obviously, United are still pulling off some wins, but it really is just about delaying the inevitable as far as Ten Hag is concerned in the eyes of more than a few people. I know Orist will have a lot to say about that, but Ollie, what are your opinions of the game and Luton?
Yeah, I think Luton will stay up. Maybe just, but good win for Man United. Obviously, they are scraping the wins. But Lindelof getting the goal. Obviously, hopefully Hodgson's okay. He got injured, and Ericsson. But yeah, good win for. I think I predicted a 2-0, so I should have changed my prediction to a 1-0. But yeah, overall, good win for Man United. As you said, Luton haven't really been,
Sorry, Ollie. Go on,
Yeah.
So Luton haven't really been, spattered. I mean, they did lose 3-1 to Aston Villa, but I think they'll stay up. I think, lucky win for United.
Simon's question. Simon's got his question.
Yeah, I'll get to that, I promise you. But Hanno obviously mentioning a point that United are still, for what it's worth, only 7 points off top spot, and there is some time for them to recover. And of course, we all remember that they had a dreadful start last season with their first 2 games, but then they recovered immediately. The recovery now is taking a little bit of time, and and of course, we are going to come to the Bournemouth result in a minute, but obviously up the town. And this is, of course, Mr. Davies' question. Since the Premier League started, how many times have the same 3 teams promoted gone back down? No, without using Google. And, obviously, Mr. Davies, none of us really have the time to, think about that. And we don't want to get the answer wrong. We're certainly not about to talk use Google. But Hanno has an answer. Every time except maybe for 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He must have Googled that. I know, he must have done. He's
Well,
too young to know.
yeah, well, Mr. Davies has the answer only once, and yet you haven't really mentioned the season, though. We would like to know the season. So, excellent trivia question. Thank you very much for asking that. But
the season in, put the season in when it happened. Yeah.
Exactly. The season and the teams, please. Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
So, I think Luton obviously have shown some more spirit, but they are going to have to get a striker, as many of us have said earlier. That was on your stream, by the way, Mr. B. So big up to you for having us on. And and I did, of course, mention that we would be coming to the Bournemouth game, and of course, a sweet cherry cola win over the Magpies, who are looking a little bit jaded at the moment. I'll tell you what, I was one of those people who predicted that the Magpies would actually continue to sort of pick the cherries at will, and it would be a 2-1 win even with the injuries. But from what I saw from most of that game, what Iraola has been trying to do with that team, it's worked an absolute treat. And you could see the likes of Tavernier and company, and also Donga Atara coming on later. Sinistera, of course, really running the channels well. But it has to be said that Newcastle team was missing quite a few injured players. Miggy Almiron getting injured didn't help. That was the 24-carat magic taken out of their team. And they also didn't have Bruno Guimaraes because of his suspension against Arsenal. Should have been a red card for that cheeky little hit on Jorginho. But hey, he got suspended. His team lost without him. Punishment enough, I would say. And of course, without the
you, Ollie, with a noise. Sorry, Manny. Is that you, Ollie, with a noise there? I can hear a lot of noise there.
I'm not too sure, mate. I'll have to sort of think about that. Yeah.
Is it me?
Yeah. Oh. It is you, so you're going to have to sort of mute it unless you're speaking. Very good. So, I think I want to actually get Ollie's views on this first, but I will ask the question. Obviously, Newcastle had to field a bit of a weakened team, and Iraola took advantage of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in detail. But Ollie, I'll ask you first. That, of course, was the late kickoff, so I hope you got to see a bit of the game. What did you think of the game and the performances of both teams?
Yeah, I thought Newcastle were quite poor in the game. I thought, good for Bournemouth to get the win. I think it surprised everyone. I thought everyone would think that Newcastle would win the game. But yeah, overall good performance from Bournemouth. I think Newcastle were missing a few players though. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes and no Wilson as well. But obviously, I'm a bit annoyed with this result because obviously we lost to Newcastle. But yeah, overall good performance from Bournemouth.
Right. Okay, so you can mute yourself now to avoid the noise. I mean, the noise is gone. But Mr. B, I'm now going to come to you because obviously Simon sort of said it perfectly. Newcastle looked a bit out of sorts and Bournemouth smelt blood. But, you've been talking a lot about, obviously, Iraola and how the decision to sack O'Neill and bring him in wasn't really the best decision because it hasn't really worked quite out in terms of him trying to implement that new style with that team. And just goes to show you can't always teach a bunch of old dogs new tricks. And it hasn't helped that some of the players that he's brought in have been injured. Tyler Adams, of course, from Leeds is one example. But this was a game probably where everything they tried just worked out perfectly. So was it was that win really down to Iraola's tactics working beautifully, like a peach or a cherry? Or was it really that Newcastle were that poor without their more influential players?
Well, this was a shock of the weekend for me, this one. Newcastle losing to Bournemouth. I never thought this would happen. But as you say, maybe it's been a bit too much for Newcastle playing in Europe at the moment and having to juggle this with the Premiership. It's a bit of a stretch for them at the moment. okay, they got loads of money and they sort of got you would say the better squad, the better players over Bournemouth in a way. But at the end of the day, they obviously were found wanting because they didn't obviously have a lot of the players were maybe tired. I mean, you give that as an excuse, but at the end of the day, you still got to come back and turn up. You're a professional. You got to turn up for the games, haven't you? And play your best. So and okay, they had players out as well, but I think he was lucky for Bournemouth that Newcastle were depleted a bit. I think that sort of fell into their lap a bit, But I don't think Bournemouth, they might just stay up, but I think they're going to be near the bottom. I can't see them getting anywhere further up. So I think it was sort of a lucky result, but I think Iriola will go at some stage. I still do, because I don't think he is the man there. I think they need someone else. But, for the time being, it's a good win for them.
Yeah, but a lot of the Bournemouth fans, and I can tell you about this, obviously, because I do a lot of work with Craig Beasley for Up the Cherries in all departments. I will hopefully do a cherry-picking show with him later on this week. Obviously, he's been getting a lot of stick from fans who have made it clear that Iriola is the man to take the team forward, and it will take some time. Obviously, the results and the performances weren't as good as they wanted them to be, and the 6-1 against Manchester City was as poor as it could possibly get, and there have been even poorer results for them.
Yeah.
But, with Neto and Lloyd Kelly coming back, you can see the experience and the solidity they lent really made a difference. And, I'm actually prepared to give Iriola a bit of credit, and I would say that if he continues to do his homework and find out what works and what doesn't work and use what works more often, Bournemouth should be able to pull off a few more results like this. Definitely against the teams, that are lower than them. And I wouldn't be surprised, if they actually do manage to pull off a few more wins against teams you least expect. I certainly wouldn't expect them to beat Aston Villa on their home patch, although Villa have looked very erratic away from home, and we're coming to them later on, believe you me. But I think Bournemouth should now give Iriola a bit of a chance, but then if results do start to go back to becoming dreadful, then his position will have to be considered. And Simon saying Newcastle will be thereabouts come the end of the season, but they still have to rebuild the squad a little bit. And Chelsea fans saying Newcastle away, worrying about that game. I don't even think you need to be worried because if you're, and we're going to come to you, believe it or definitely, but if your offense can do to Newcastle what you did to Manchester City, especially given Newcastle's defense being a little bit weak with Dan burnt out, you could say that Dan burnt out, but he also burnt his hamstring. And, I wouldn't be too worried about that. And I think Pochettino has got you in the right direction for now. And, Bournemouth have a tendency to get similar results like this every season, then drop points the next game. Very true. We've seen that happening, but hopefully, that happened under O'Neill. It's also happened under Eddie Howe. Maybe Iriola's cut from a different cloth. Maybe he will start to, do a little bit more of his homework. I don't know, but we will have to see. But it was a sweet win. Definitely Cherry Cola. We all remember how good Cherry Cola was back in the day, eh?
Yeah.
Still good now? You still good now?
Drink it occasionally, yeah. I try and go for the diet stuff now, but that's good. That was nice.
Yeah, I always did like Cherry Cola. And Ollie, I'm sure you would have tried that, although you're now into the prime stuff, aren't you? Yeah. And of course, I did mention Villa, who do have to play Bournemouth very soon. And for all of their erratic form away from home, the Villains are still heroes at the park.
Yeah.
Sure, I know they still can't keep a clean sheet, but they're getting the wins. And an own goal from Anthony Robertson, an absolute cracker from McGinn, and Ollie Watkins continuing his fine form. Raul Jimenez pulling a goal back, of course, but there really was only going to be one result in this particular game. Ollie, did you see that game, and what do you think of it?
Yeah, good win for Aston Villa, of course. Obviously, as you said, they didn't get the clean sheet, but they still got the win. goals from Ollie Watkins again, obviously, and Antonio Robinson getting an own goal. But yeah, a good win for Villa. I'm not sure. I think we predicted a 2-1 in this game. Yeah.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I did actually predict a 3-1 because I just knew that with some of the defensive issues, despite having the world champion goalkeeper, they still can't keep a clean sheet. And I think Villa are still feeling the effects of the absence of Tyrone Mings, and it's taking a little bit of time for the likes of Pau Torres and maybe Diego Carlos, who had his own injury-related absence, to try and really gel in the centre. Ezri Konsa, who's been called up recently to the England squad.
Yeah,
I think that ridiculous header back to Martinez for that own goal really should never have happened. But it is what it is. But as long as Villa can keep scoring goals and still doing as well as they can, and they're also evolving as well, playing in Europe after about a 13-year gap, they're going to be fine. And under Emery, they got the right manager. But Fulham, the Cottagers seem to be sinking a little bit. And I also did say on your stream, Mr. B, that they could very well end up being candidates to go down unless they can stop this rot. But are they really that bad without a striker?
Well, they're certainly missing Mitrovic, aren't they? Let's be honest. So, I think they could get somebody maybe in January. They might get another striker. For them, they need it, So, I'm a bit surprised they are struggling. I mean, at one stage, they looked I think certainly last season, they looked a really good team, I thought. But yeah, as you say, I think they could be candidates to go down if they keep going this way. But Villa, they had that little blemish of losing to Forest, but they're back on form again, and of course Watkins coming back again, scoring yet again. The XPs, so him and Konza, both in the England squad. So we do produce them. It just shows Brentford, doesn't it? So I just wish we had them back at our team at the moment, but.
Yeah, instead, you still have Brian and Mbeumo, but with Tony suspended, you've got to defend on Neil Maupay. Whoever's idea it was to bring him back, I will never know. And we'll come to Brentford in a minute. But an interesting comment here from Mr. Davies. Can't disagree, but the level has raised for a lot of squads this season, and the game changes. The game changes. Yeah. So, good point, obviously, but... Look, I wouldn't necessarily say the game changes that much, because it's not for nothing that we say that the more things change, the more they stay the same invariably. Yeah. But, I just think invariably that Fulham do have a lot of questions that they need to answer. And, they're still dependent on a few of their players in defence and midfield, like the likes of Tim Ream and, De Cordova-Reid and several others. I think Jimenez could certainly prove to be a short-term answer if he can get more chances and score a little bit more. But, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with them. And, it is still, we're not even halfway through the season, just 12 games, obviously. So maybe there could be a recovery. Maybe there could be a huge blip. We'll never know. And I think we can all agree that as well as Aston Villa are doing right now, they've got to improve their bench strength and their away form. But I'll tell you what, I'm really happy for Unai Emery and the job he's doing. And it could very well be that Aston Villa could finish above Arsenal this season. And if that happens, Mikel Arteta has a lot for which to answer. I see Mr. Sinclair shaking his head. He completely disagrees with me, so we will leave it at that. And now we're going to talk about another relegation-threatened team. The Blades, who went to the AMX Arena and nicked a point from the Seagulls. 1-1. And so Sheffield United also... the type of team that can lose 5-0 to Arsenal and 8-0 to Newcastle, but also produce spirited performances and get some points of their own. So they're not quite going to be like the Derby County team of years gone by, or other teams who were just as awful. But Mr. B, do you think that they could perhaps... we both predict that maybe they will just slightly end up going down if they can't score goals either, and if they can't tighten up their defence. But when their defence is tight, they can cause a few problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they pulled off some good results lately. They got one against Wolves, albeit a dodgy penalty. It shouldn't have been a penalty, but with 2-1, and then obviously here with a point against Brighton, who I think are a great team. I like Brighton, fantastic team. They're doing all right in Europe, but maybe that's hitting them a bit now, being in Europe.
Yep.
They've got to play games in the week, and Thursday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's can be a bit much if you haven't got a really big squad and can call on great players to come off the bench like City. City have got the players, haven't they? They can cope with it all.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I think they're a good team. I think they'll bounce back. I mean, it's still a draw. They didn't lose, but you've got to give it to Sheffield. They've done well there. They got a point, and they're picking up some points now, which is good for them. Maybe they will pull themselves out of it. They could get out of it, but I don't think they will. But it's good for them at the moment. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the smaller teams. I like the smaller teams to do well. So, maybe it's them, and maybe Burnley will have to pick up at some stage. They might start beating some teams, possible.
Yeah, maybe. And I like how you mentioned that Brighton's European exploits are also taking a bit of a toll on them in a way. They also got to learn to evolve a little bit, and maybe De Zerbi's trying to sort of shuffle the squad a bit. He's let some players go like McAllister and Sanchez and one or two others, but he has replaced them quite well. I wouldn't necessarily call Bart Verbruggen an improvement on Robert Sanchez, but for what it's worth, he is now a full Dutch international. And they rotate their keepers with Verbruggen and Steele playing every now and then. So it just goes to show that it can be done, but it's not going to be done at Arsenal because you see the results are looking a little bit choppy there.
I mean, when they've Steele
Ollie, did you?
Strong at the back. We're Steele at the back, Steele quite strong, aren't they? So it's
I mean, Luke would be Luke would be a steal if any good team can get him at a decent price. But at the moment, I think maybe the 6-1 reverse at Aston Villa affected his confidence in a way, and maybe. But I do think the rotation doesn't really help, and I think that will obviously segue into the debate, which we could talk about if we get some time. But so probably won't be very much. Ollie, I wonder if you got to see the game and the highlights of that particular match, and what did you think of the game? Any players caught your eye?
Yeah, good. Any players caught my eye? Obviously, the Brighton guy got the goal. Adeganeri. How'd you say?
It was harsh, the red card.
Yeah, the red card was.
Yeah, some of these red. Go ahead, Ollie.
Yeah, so Sheffield United are doing quite well at the moment. Obviously, they've just got a draw and they beat Wolves. I was a bit surprised about this result. I think I predicted a Brighton win. But yeah, good. I mean, bit of a boring game. Not a boring game, but no team getting the result. So yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that red card did perhaps affect Brighton's rhythm. But again, it's just another reminder that, when you are the team you are and you are challenging on, 4 fronts as well. I don't think they're in the League Cup anymore because Chelsea knocked them out, but they still have the FA Cup and the Europa League. So that's 3 fronts for them along with the Premier League. But they are still going to have to learn to evolve as a squad. And that's a theme we're seeing. If you're sort of a new team in Europe, you have to learn to try to manage that workload. And I think De Zerbi might have to make a few purchases in January to try to strengthen it a little bit. Brighton should be into the next stage of the Europa League by then because their results have been pretty decent.
I'll take him every day as a striker. I'll bring him at Brentford.
Oh yes. And don't forget Pascal Gross, who's still anything but gross. He's actually really, really effective as a player indeed. And now, of course, Mr. B, I'm not going to ask you to comment first because obviously we all know what's coming up. The Bees getting badly stung by the Reds. the Egyptian wizard coming to the fore. Orest, give us. I'm sorry. That was dreadful. Ollie, and that was a big folly. Ollie, let me hear your thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Obviously, not the best result from this to be.
Yeah. Can I leave, Manny? Can I leave now?
I'll put you backstage, but I will bring you back on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Salah did well. He got 2 goals. And Jota did well. Got a goal, but yeah, not the best result for Brentford. Liverpool played well. I thought Brentford could get something, maybe a draw, maybe even a win, but yeah, good. Liverpool got the win. Yeah.
Right. And so I do apologize, Mr. Jenkins, but we are going to have to bring you back in. But obviously, I remember when we did the preview stream here, I was predicting Liverpool to win 2-1, and you were clearly not best pleased with me, saying I had to have some faith. But I am sorry that your faith.
Right, mate. You were right.
I am sorry that your faith was misplaced. But look, there's nothing that much that needs to be said about Mohamed Salah, an absolute legend. I think that was his 200th goal in English football with that brace that he got. And Brentford also seem to be a team that do tend to struggle away from home. I know they did beat Chelsea at the Bridge, but let's face it, that Chelsea team is still completely evolving in many ways, still very much hot and cold, yes and no, in and out, up and down, and the rest, as Katy Perry would say. But we are starting to see a little bit of inconsistencies creeping into the team. I wonder, when you saw that game, what you felt about the performance of Thomas Frank's boys and where you were lacking, perhaps.
Yeah. Where do I start, Manny? Well, the thing is, I mean, after those last 3 games, good, 3 wins in a row. We beat Chelsea. I know they're still sort of in and out. They're not, the full package at the moment, Chelsea. But it's still a great win, 2-0 at their ground. And then obviously the beating Burnley, that was easy because didn't think Burnley were anything on the day. And then West Ham, I thought was probably the better team we beat out of those 3. They're going quite well. I mean, I know they've had a few struggles recently. And they're talking about Moyes probably going. They're on about getting rid of him. I don't think they should, but in my opinion. But that was a good game, and I thought they were a good team, West Ham. But after 3 wins on the trot, I thought we would produce more than we did against Liverpool. As much as I think Liverpool are a great team still, I think they are still vulnerable. Certainly at the back, they can be vulnerable. Sorry, I'm losing my voice just talking about this. But I just think they can be got at Liverpool, and we've done it before. We have beaten them before. We beat them at the GTEC early this year, 3-1. So we know it's possible, but we just didn't and got it at the moment. I mean, we take 2 steps forward and 2 back at the moment. It's not great, and I think Mbomo's class, but he's not consistent enough. He doesn't do it consistently. Visser goes out of games, he goes invisible. It's just too many that don't, can't crack it at the moment and not good enough. And, I'd like to see a proper striker brought in. I actually disagree with you about Mopé. I think he's done all right. He's done quite good when he's come back. I didn't think much of the decision to start with him, bringing him back. But the last 2 or 3 games, he's actually stood up and done something. When he brought him on and he scored a goal and he got that header that was disallowed. He's putting himself about more now. I mean, I know he's a bit of a shit house. We all know what he does at times. And, it was in one game, I don't know if you see the game when he kicked the ball. He had the free kick. Who was it, West Ham, I think? And they had a free kick and he come along, he was along the side and he kicked it. He kicked the ball away when he was running along as a sub. I thought that was brilliant. I thought real shithousery. And,
Yeah, as Arsenal fans, Ollie and I do have reasons to remember Neil Maupay, and I don't think we need to go in depth what they are, but keep going. I think you seem to like what he's contributed since coming back
Yeah,
to the GTEC, yeah?
yeah, I was surprised because I thought he'd gone. I don't think he was as good a player anymore as he was. I mean, when we had him like in the championship and whatever, he was great for us. He was getting goals left, right, and centre. But when he sees he went to maybe like Brighton and Everton, okay, he started okay at Brighton, but tailed off, and then at Everton as well, he's not been the same player. But maybe we've rejuvenated him coming back to Brentford. It's rejuvenated him. And I think he should have started this game. I think. I don't know why he didn't. What Thomas was playing at, but.
I think it's fair to. I think it's fair to say that since becoming a B again, he started to buzz again, eh?
Yeah, definitely. But I still,
if not quite Sting yet, then definitely buzz.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have to rely on him a bit as well, especially if Mbomo and Visser go to the AFCON.
Yep.
We're going to rely on him a bit more, and then if Tony does come back, which I hope he does, I hope we don't sell him until the end of the season. We'll have something like a strike force up front, at least. So,
yeah. Well, of course, the main man shows up. Lateness, especially this late, isn't really great, but sometimes, life gets in the way, traffic gets in the way, work gets in the way. We've all been there. Oris, good to have you on, son. I'm just going to... We've actually gone through almost all the games, and we'll be a little bit brief.
Job, by the way, as usual. He's done a great job.
But... so this particular headline, of course, only just Luton plundering the Hatters by 1 goal. It was a game, obviously, that United had to win by hook or crook. And Luton obviously didn't really set out to try to win the game, but they very nearly nicked a point. Are you happy with the 3 points? And what do you think about the suggestion that maybe this win will just be a stay of execution for Erik ten Hag? Because I know that you are very much ten Hag in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got the win. I feel like it should have been more because we created a lot of chances. I think Hoyland had the chance. Obviously, Rashford had the chance as well. So should have been more, but no, we got the 3 points. That's all that matters. But listen, there's a stat. Last 5 games, Man United, the most informed team. Listen, I'm not getting carried away because if we look at it, Luton, Forest, Burnley. We should be Sheffield. We should be beating the team. So I'm not going to get carried away from that stat. But now listen, Ten Hag. I'll always be Ten Hag in because I'm not that type of fan saying Ten Hag out and then get someone else in because it's the same cycle. So for me, listen, I've always backed the manager. So yeah, but no, listen, we should be scoring more goals against Luton. But Lindelof had to nick it for us, and it is what it is. I just have to stick by it, and then after the international break, we get in, we take our chances, and we have to be clinical. So, yeah, but no, good 3 points. Hopefully, gives us this momentum now to keep going after the international break.
Very good, very good. I like that more realist tone. None of this, Ten Hag is really the man for the moment. I mean, obviously you're going to support him, but you're not getting carried away. The form is temporary, as they always say, and. Now, of course, we're coming to the last 2 games. I think you spoke about the Hammers and all of that, Mr. B, and we saw the Hammers felling the Forest trees. So when they're away from the Forest, the trees don't stand up very well, I think it's fair to say. And West Ham, of course, also show a little bit of inconsistency, but they also have this ability to turn up at least on their home turf. And I just think that they're still going to be one of those teams which will be thereabouts in the top half of the table because Moyes does have them playing a good a brand of football. In some ways, ever since losing Declan Rice and gaining all that dosh from that transfer, they seem to have improved quite a bit, but then they do take a few backward steps every now and then. I wonder what your impression is on the Hammers and the game in general.
Are you talking to me, Manny?
Yep, Mr. B. I'm starting with you.
Yeah. I think they've done all right. I mean, but I think Forest were good as well. Look, they nearly got a result there. It was tight in the end. I think West Ham, I don't know what it was. They at one stage they looked like they was going to capitulate and lose the game, but coming back well. I think they're and obviously, as I mentioned earlier about Moyes, I don't know why they want to get rid of him. I've heard talk about that. You think what he's achieved there now? He's got them that European Cup, was it Conference Cup or whatever it was?
Yep, Conference League.
Yeah, Conference League. And he's still doing all right there. He's still doing well. I mean, they're not struggling like they were last season. You see, they was nearer the bottom, weren't they? The bottom half. And this season, they're quite comfortable. As I say, they're one of the better teams we beat, played and beat recently, I think. Yeah. So I think they're doing all right, West Ham. But I rate Forest as well. I think they're going to be comfortable this season as well. I can't see. Somebody said the other day they might go down, or might be Arnie even. But I know there's no chance. No chance.
Yeah. Agree, but you'd think that for the players they're able to get, Sangare from PSV and Montiel from Sevilla and a few others, you'd think that they would have designs of finishing much, much higher. And if they do end up mid-table, then maybe questions will have to be asked of Steve Cooper. But I suppose for Forest, in days gone by, they'd come up to the Premiership and then sink back down quickly. I do remember the Forest team in the early 90s, which had come up from the Championship and which were doing really great things under Frank Clark, with the likes of Stan Collymore in the team and Stuart Pearce and others still doing well, but then they went back down very soon. Maybe stability is the order of the day, and then they'll build on that. I don't know if Forest is still there, but Ollie, let me come to you now. Yeah, but so Ollie, I'll come to you first and then to Orest. What did you think, Ollie? What did you think of the game? And were there any players or plays that impressed you or disappointed you, or what's the story?
Yeah, it's a good win for West Ham. I think Bowen played quite well.
Bowen, great player.
Yeah, Bowen played well. Yeah. Obviously, I think Ward-Prowse played well, so played well. So West Ham played well. It was a close game. Obviously, it was 3-2. But yeah, good win for West Ham.
Okay, Orest.
Again, Byron hit the ball, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that old program. It was Jim Bowen who used to host it. Yeah, God rest his soul, of course.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
That was a good Sunday afternoon program if you liked a few giggles every now and then. But Orest, what did you think of the game, and what's your impression on both these teams?
Yeah, obviously, Suchek not last minute, but towards the end. But wins a win. But I'm actually shocking to see that there's news going around that West Ham wants to sack David Moyes. Because you know what. I know as United fan, he did obviously didn't do that well, but when I look at his career, when I look at his manager career at West Ham, I think he's done a pretty good job, Obviously, Conference League, Bowen he's absolutely killing it at the moment. Suchek, which is, for me, people may disagree, agree, but I don't rate Suchek that highly that people think. But for me, that's just my opinion. I think Suchek, I think he's good, but not to what people are saying. But no, I'm very surprised because yes, I know obviously they got rid of Declan Rice, but if they look at their midfield, Kudus, Paqueta, Ward-Prowse, that is a solid midfield, And you know what? I think West Ham they've been okay this season. I get it. I get the frustration. Yeah, you guys want to do better than that because obviously Conference League, and you're thinking that your club's going to go on the high now. But you know what? Just remember that David Moyes won a European trophy with you guys, and then you guys need to just back with it for this season. But yeah, listen, it's a good win for West Ham. It was a hard-fought battle for them, but yeah, like I said, a win's a win in the game. So yeah, fair play to West Ham.
Yeah.
Agreed completely. And of course, now we come to the pièce de résistance. I know that we're going to about touch the hour mark, but I do apologize, but we've had a lot to say. And of course, it was a big city, London, Manchester, crack at the bridge, 8 goals, 4-4. I want to sort of big up Mr. B, but I will start with Ollie first. What did you think of the game? And just say what you want to say.
Yeah, amazing game. You know, great performance from both teams. Obviously, yeah. I mean, not letting me.
And you must be more excited than that, Ollie. Come on, what a game, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just great game, good win. You know, Haaland did well, of course. You know, Jackson, did well. Obviously, Cole Palmer got the penalty at the end. Yeah, very exciting game. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, and you're right. So, Mr. B, I'm going to come to you because obviously, when we did that stream, you asked that question: was it really, worthy of being an advertisement for the Premier League? Because we had some terrific end-to-end action, but in as much as there were some terrific goals, there was also some really poor defending. I wonder if there were any particular players who disappointed you and made you think, Jesus, he shouldn't really be playing at this level. I can certainly think of one. Any more you got in mind?
Yeah, we know you're talking about Manny. We know that. I think we know by now. But certainly Mr. Diaz. But anyway, but no, I thought it was an amazing game, an incredible game. I was stunned how great it was. But the defending, as I said on that stream, it was poor, some of it. But it made for a fantastic game. But I mean, as you say, you're one we know you're about. And we've obviously got Cucurella, I think was a little bit dodgy, especially that thing with Haaland, although I don't think it was a penalty. Tugging both ways, and we don't know if the ball was going to get to Haaland anyway. I think that was another poor decision. But there was a lot of calamities there in defences, and a lot of defences struggled. Both defences struggled, I think. But it made for an entertaining game. What more could you ask for? 8 goals in a game. 4 each. It was going one way and then the other. That's a great advertisement for the Premiership. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I know you obviously are critical of Cucurella, but aside from the penalty incident, I thought he actually did a really good job defensively, and I know that might be a little bit hard to believe, but he seems to be growing into that team. But Orest, you must have seen that game, and obviously you would have been delighted as an Arsenal fan to see City fail to pick up all 3 points. Justice, of course, that 2 of their ex-players had hands in the goals that deprived them of 3 points at the bridge. What did you think of the game? And would you say, as Mr. B has said, that a game like this is the Premier League?
I think he's had a mistake there. I'm not an Arsenal fan, Manny. But yeah.
Poor fellow seems to be...
But yeah.
Yeah, Freudian slip. I mean, as a United fan, you'd be disappointed. You'd be delighted to see City fail to get it. But my question remains the same.
For me, listen, I think this was probably the best game so far in the Premier League for me. Chelsea didn't give up. He didn't give up. But not for me. If I'm being brutally honest, I thought I thought Chelsea should have won. If I'm being brutally honest, I know the chances Chelsea had. I know, I get it. City played good, but they weren't up to their level. They weren't that good, in my opinion. So I thought Cucurella done amazing. I thought Reece James, by the way, credit to him. I thought he Cole Palmer. Yeah. Listen. There's a picture going around when he was a kid when so big up to Cole Palmer. But no. Look, listen, Pochettino, I think his tactics he got it spot on really. Pochettino, fair play to Pochettino, he got it spot on. Fair play to Broja for winning that penalty. Big up to Broja as always, but yeah.
Your man Broja, mate.
Yeah, of course. That's the Albanian pride coming through. And I'll get your point about the chances. Obviously, there was a chance that Gusto had to put Chelsea 4-3 ahead before Rodri scored that. And I think, when you have a chance like that, you've got to try to do better. You've got to, at the very least, hit the target. And Chelsea fan obviously saying that the club had become Heart Attack FC on another stream. And, Manchester City's penalty never should have been given. I think Cucurella was very hard done by. But as I said about the miss by Gusto, as we would say in Spanish, mucho no gusto. And if we have any Spanish speakers in the chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But, so I always believe that for games to be really good advertisements, they've got to have the best in terms of attacking football and defensive football. I don't like to see too many mistakes, but I guess that's just me. And I've seen my share of 4-4 draws. It wasn't anything like the 4-4 draw between Everton and Liverpool in the 1991 FA Cup, which Mr. B should remember very well. And of course, in the aftermath of that game, Kenny Dalglish resigned as Liverpool manager. I don't think we'll see Guardiola do that now, but if City fail to defend their Champions League title and actually end up losing the Premier League title, and you can clip me on this if you like, I actually believe that if Chelsea fail spectacularly to repeat their treble success, this could very well be the season where we see Pep Guardiola walk at the very end.
Possible, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's gone. Either if he wins the Premier League or not, I think he's gone. My opinion. I think City, I think they're ready for the replacement. And Pep will probably leave.
They get Arteta, couldn't they? Get Arteta.
I think
that would be the day.
I think
Cowboy in charge. Yeah.
See, man, look, Xabi Alonso. You never know. Xabi Alonso, he's gone now but no, listen. I think if City was to get Arteta, I think Mane would. That would be the best day for Mane, and you'd see Mane celebrating.
We're all Arsenal fans, I think.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be the best day for Mr. Sinclair sitting over there. A huge shake of the head from him when I was speaking about Unai Emery. But, it is what it is. And that is, of course, something that will be, of course, discussed another day. But, of course, absolutely. And this has been a good evening. Thanks a lot to all of you for joining in. And thanks a lot to everyone in the chat who made this a good evening and a good stream. It's that time of the evening that we shout out everyone's socials and get other people to do it, put them in the spotlight. Mr. Sinclair, we will start with you. Where do we find you, son?
Yes, if you want to find me on YouTube, DJ Sinclair. Haven't done a stream in a while, but I will probably do one soon. If you want to find me on Instagram, ollie.sinclair556 and WF Fanpage 1 and Ollie's556 on TikTok.
Yeah, I did say that we'd have a chat about the Raya Ramsdale debate, and of course you'd be one to talk because you had an Aaron Ramsdale fan page. Yeah. But I think it's fair to say that we'll save that for some other time, maybe after the international break. So that's not something we won't want to deal with right now. Mr. B, as always, a real pleasure to have you on our streams, a real pleasure to talk to you. And despite your age, you're very much one of the boys, as it were, and we enjoy having you on. As I've said, do please tell us where we can find you.
What age got to do with it, man? What are you talking about? I'm a youngster, man. What are you talking about?
All right, calm down. You're young at heart. I'm also old, okay? You can poke fun at me as much as you like. But listen, where can we find you and what have you got coming up on your channel soon?
Mr. B Hyman Football Chat, Mr. B for Life 182. And I've obviously got a lot of content out, a lot of videos, done one with Manny and everything yesterday, Stepsy, and who's the other one, Arnie, we had on there yesterday, my debate show on the Monday. New one, and it's going pretty well, getting great views, and I'm on 68 subs now, so things are going really well there, and people are still viewing all my videos, so views are going up, so that's great. Obviously got a lot of stuff coming up. Got the preview for the Arsenal games on the 24th. Maybe doing a watch along for the England game against Malta. So so everything's going well. Come on, you beast.
Wonderful to see. And of course, I'm going to shout out my socials because obviously there's a reason. I'll tell you why. Thank you for joining, Chelsea fan. We will see you again soon. And of course, If you want to find me, you can find me here on Oris Talks Football. Big up to Oris, of course, for letting me host this stream. And you can also catch me on the Coach's Corner with Mr. Trollope, Del Boy Gunner TV, and several other channels, which I probably don't quite have the time to name. But all of these channels are very close to my heart. And how I conduct these streams is how I want, as how I conduct myself whenever I go on other streams as a panelist. It's about treating people with respect the way you'd like to be treated, avoiding all sorts of banter, although we do like to have a few pun-related discussions every now and then, but that's just me. If we can't agree to disagree without being disagreeable, no point in having a discussion, so we keep things respectful, and that's the way it should be. And if you want to catch me on social media, catch me on Instagram and Threads at Manny1981. If you want to catch me on Twitter, having a few sporting or political discussions, it's Thungatharai1981, which is my surname and my year of birth. And the reason why I shout myself out, not at the end, is because I saved the very best for the end. The man behind the channel, Orest Mikaj. Good to see you as always. And thank you for giving me the chance to host this stream. Thank you for the work you've done for the channel. Do please tell us where we can find you on social media. And is there anything special that you got coming up for the international break? Maybe an Albania watch along?
Yeah. I got Manny for obviously hosting this one. Obviously, I was, if you live in London, there's traffic. So yeah, but no, big up to Manny for hosting. Socials, Instagram, or Football. It is in our header underneath. Twitter or Footy. You can guys follow me on Twitter. Very, very active on there, debating with some United fans. I'm not gonna say how they behave, but United fans in general. But no, listen, it's good to talk to people, discuss football. So if you have Twitter, do make sure you follow us. Yeah, really mentioned Instagram, YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to our channel. Our aim is to get obviously 500 subscribers before Christmas, so make sure you guys subscribe. International break, you know what? There might be Albania watch along. Who knows? But just keep your eyes peeled. Obviously, because we're doing fantastic in the Euros, top of the group. So we will see. But now, big up the panel. Good to see Ollie and Mr. B. Big up to you guys.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And as always, thanks to everyone in the chat. And nothing much else to say. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the sporting action coming up. And don't do anything that the four of us wouldn't do. But for now, as always, it is farewell to thee and goodbye to each and every one of you. Cheers.